All right, as we approach the midterm elections, Republicans are on track to gain a number of seats in the House and Senate. But three conservative congressmen believe the Republican Party has lost some of its founding ideals and want to put the party back on track before the new session. And joining me now are the authors of the brand new book, by the way, all the money going to charity, Young Guns, a new generation of conservative leaders. Wisconsin Congressman Paul Ryan, Virginia Congressman Eric Cantor, and California Congressman Kevin McCarthy. Guys, good to see you.
Good to be here.
Young Guns. All right, what a good-looking crew there we got in this book. All right, all the money's for charity, by the way, for the book, right?
Get your house.
Okay. First of all, I titled my last book, and I'm not comparing them, which came out in March, Conservative Victory. I didn't say Republican victory. I said conservative. You titled this A New Generation of Conservative Leaders. What's the difference? Because you're all members of the Republican Party. What's the difference?
Well, the difference is we get back to the core values that built this country. We believe in the principles that built America: liberty, freedom, free enterprise, self-determination, government by consent of the governed. We've lost those. And as Republicans, we've drifted from those before. And so what we're trying to say here is we not only had to own up to the fact that the party, when it was in the majority the last time, did not properly defend those principles. And if we get the honor of serving in the majority again, we're going to protect those principles, defend those principles, and move forward with a fiscally and economic liberty, fiscal conservative agenda. And
I don't think the House is not as big a problem. They seem to adhere more to the conservative principles than the Senate. Then you've got, some rhino Republican senators that have been difficult to deal with. But your position is that the Republican Party needs to go back to, would it be appropriate to say its Reagan conservative roots?
Absolutely, Sean. And really, we began Young Guns. And frankly, Fred Barnes coined the term Young Guns because we were out looking for, new leaders who wanted to come to Washington for the right reasons. And, what we have seen now is a movement both inside and outside the Congress, which is determined to try and put in place the common sense conservative principles that have been the founding bedrock of this country, and put them to work to figure out how to create jobs, how to cut spending, and rein in the federal government. Yeah. And that's what Young Guns is about.
And we admit, the Republicans had lost their way and they got fired, and finding our way back. And you look at the candidates across the country, they're in a young gun program, different levels about moving up.
Yeah, all right, which raises a question, because I agree with you. I think they lost the trust. I think they abandoned some of their conservative views, and I think there was a very heavy political price to pay, and not just a political price. I think the country has now paid a price. I don't think people recognize just how radical Barack Obama would be. I think I tried to warn everybody. I think a lot of people now are beginning to see that I might have been right. I had some Republicans call me at the time, you're going way overboard, Hannity, and more than a few have said, I think you were kind of right. But with that said, there's something magical about putting commitments on a piece of paper. Right. Now, I understand you have been working on the idea of nationalizing the elections, putting on paper the principles that you will stand for if the Republican people give you that second chance that you're asking for.
What we've been doing is what we call America Speaking Out, where we've been communicating to the American public, having a dialogue, what are the biggest concerns, and it's a government document. It's what we are going to go out and solve the problems right now. Number one's going to be about jobs, focusing on small business. Spending, out of control. Freeze the spending. Go back to the other levels.
Whoa, stop it. Go back to...
You go to 2006.
Bob McDonnell went to 2006. John Boehner said 2008.
If you just went to 2008, that's $100 billion. Just think if you stopped what it's
$100 billion less than we're spending now, we'd go back to those levels.
A year. It's $1 trillion over the budget.
A trillion over. So we save $1 trillion of.
If you just cut discretionary spending, has gone up 84%.
84% domestic discretionary spending.
You tell me what small business has gone up 84% in discretionary spending?
None.
Exactly. We should run government differently, more efficient.
Am I wrong in thinking that, on the one hand, understanding that it's very complicated to get things done in Washington? I think most people recognize that. But on the other hand, I think the American people, their agenda is simple. They want to keep the country safe. They recognize a war on terror, not an overseas contingency operation. A lot of the American people, they're not taking vacations. They're not going to expensive restaurants. They're not buying new cars. They're tightening their belt. Tough economic times. They want fiscal responsibility. So if defense is one issue, economic, some type of belt tightening in Washington, controlling the borders, energy independence. Is it more complicated than that? Is it that simple?
No, it is that simple. And it's reapplying these principles that got us to become the most exceptional country in the face of the earth. And we need to rededicate our principles. And so we're going out there recruiting people, not to come to Congress to have a career in politics. We're trying to recruit people to come help us with this cause.
Yeah.
And those ideas and principles have been violated. We're not applying them today. We want to make sure that if we get back in the majority, we don't mess it up, and that we actually reapply these principles to fix these problems in our country. All those things you just mentioned, we've got to get back to those core American ideas, those values that built us.
This is an antidote or an answer to the question of Republicans of the party of, quote, no, which is...
You get a lot of ideas right here.
Right here.
And we've been putting ideas out. You know, the American public, we put together a stimulus that focused on the private sector. They went out with Keynesian views, spent $1 trillion with interest, and today more people believe Elvis is alive than the stimulus created a job.
Well, that, and they want another stimulus.
That's all they ever think
grandson,
of.
the great-grandson of stimulus.
Or a tax increase. That's all the president wants to do.
Yeah. Well, look, it's exciting because I believe conservatism is on the ascendancy. And to say that this is about the rise of conservatism, as a conservative, I'm glad to hear it. And we wish all the success. We'll be watching in the next 49 days. Guys, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Sean.
I appreciate it.